What is up, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of The Unusual Suspects. I am your host, Vincent Oshana. We have a fantastic show lined up for you guys today. I'm going to go around the room and introduce everybody. We have Humberto, who's dressed like he's Men in Black, the newest episode. We have Rob G, who literally was working on his car and then just rolled in here. We have Connor, he wrote like 9 stories saying he's here. And today, our newest Unusual Suspects. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I didn't know about him. I didn't do that much research, but apparently he's written books, like very, very successful, running 9 businesses, entrepreneur. He's an amazing father. I'm actually lying the whole time. One of my mentors, one of my very good friends. And guess what? He's paying the rent in the building. Patrick Bet-David. Patrick, how you doing?
It's great to be here. What a great set, by the way.
It's almost as if you picked everything out in this room to look like it. And we appreciate it.
This is insane.
Isn't it nice?
Yes, I love it.
But you've done podcasts in here, but not
I've done podcasts, but this is wild.
But this
I love
is the
it.
set.
I love the look.
This is it. And we appreciate you being here. Because
you guys doing a great job. You just crossed 20,000 subs.
Hey,
so, that's a big deal. It's watching to see the followership. The fans are loving it. We're getting feedback. And I think this is going to be a million sub and no chin.
I agree. I agree 100%. Because by the way, Pat, and these fans, we had 2,700 live last week. We gained how many subscribers?
But Vinny, the numbers don't matter. What makes me really proud to some of you guys out there, they put the comment, "This is my favorite show now."
I did see that.
And that makes it everything. Everything is worth it.
I do respect too. People are talking shit about Adam in here.
Get out of here.
Funny.
Get out of here.
Adam's
unusual. What
violence immediately.
Last week, the first one was Adam's gay. And I was just like, he's not even here. Let the poor guy live. But Patrick, I love you. Thank you for being here. We have a great, great show, guys. We're going to talk about the president's priorities. He's traveling a lot these past couple of days. We're going to talk about the Venezuelan elections that are happening, the Mexican takeover. Rob is going to talk to us about a solar eclipse. That's a conspiracy that's going to be happening here shortly. And Patrick's going to talk about Japan's lost decades and China's future. But before we go there, guys, I talk about this every week. If you haven't downloaded the Connect app, get on there right now. It's a place where you could connect with professionals on anything from business, entrepreneurship, faith. I'm on there. Patrick is on there if you want to talk about anything about life, business. Pat's on there. Rob Gargiulo's on there. Anything about working on cars to taking photos with whatever you want. Rob is there. Who else is there? Humberto's in there. Humberto, what can they learn about you on there?
I will yell at them for as long as they want.
That's it.
To get their life
verbal
together.
Reviews. And Kelly, from spiritual stuff to anything about YouTube or thumbnails or producing, Kelly has. And Connor, are you on there as well?
The VT writers were so rudely left out of this slideshow, but yes, we are on
now.
for the writing
Connor's,
section.
Connor's on there.
Shane is also on there as an expert. We are helping out with writing questions and
I love it.
Anything like that.
I love it. Okay, so guys, we're going to go into the first story. And by the way, Pat, you have no idea what we're going to be talking about.
I have no clue.
Okay, so yesterday, I don't know if you know this, 4 living presidents were in New York City. The first 3, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Sleepy Joe Biden, were at a fundraising event for Biden. The host, Stephen Colbert, and Lizzo, of all people, was there. She's the main event performing. But the 4th one that was in New York, Donald J. Trump was there, but he was attending the wake of the slain New York police officer, Jonathan Diller, God rest his soul. He's a 31-year-old officer who was killed in the line of duty by a career criminal who has been arrested more than 20 times. He leaves behind a wife and a 1-year-old son. President Trump met with the deceased cop's wife yesterday, and this is what he had to say about the tragedy. Kelly, please play the clip.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I want to thank Bruce and all of the people that have worked so hard to make this area beautiful and safe. And this is what happened, is such a sad event, such a horrible thing, and it's happening all too often, and we're just not going to let it happen. We just can't. 21 times arrested, this thug, and the person in the car with him was arrested many times, and they don't learn because they don't respect. They're not given the respect. The police are the greatest people we have. There's nothing and there's nobody like them, and this should never happen. I just visited with a very beautiful wife that now doesn't have her husband. Stephanie was just incredible. Their child, brand new, beautiful baby, sitting there innocent as can be, and doesn't know how his life has been changed. But the Diller family you'll never be the same. You can never be the same. And we have to stop it. We have to stop it. We have to get back to law and order. We have to do a lot of things differently because this is not working. This is happening too often. It's an honor to be here. And again, I want to just thank all of you folks for allowing this. And Bruce, thank you. Bruce has been a friend of mine for a long time. He's done an incredible job out here. But this is such a sad occasion. The only thing we can say is maybe something is going to be learned. We've got to toughen it up. We've got to strengthen it up. This should never be allowed. Things like this shouldn't take place and to take place so often. So thank you all for being here. It's an honor, and it's an honor for me to be here. This is a great family, the Diller family. I met the friends, and I met every one of them inside, and these are just incredible people that are just devastated. They're devastated. They've got a tough road. It's going to be a very tough road. So thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right, so guys, the two men in the car during the fatal stop had 35 charges between the two of them. Think about that. 30, not just misdemeanor, 35 times between both of them. One of them was in prison for attempted murder, the one that actually shot him, and he was out on bail for gun possession, okay? But to no surprise, the White House, as they always do, shifting the blame. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre blaming the gun on the crime.
Relates to the death of the officer. Look, our hearts go out to this officer who tragically lost his life in the line of duty. We're also praying for his family during this difficult time, who now has an empty seat at their dinner table. President Biden is deeply grateful for the sacrifices police officers make to keep our community safe. This shooting is yet another painful reminder of the toll of gun violence, that what it's doing to inflict on families and our communities and our nation. And that's why the president signed more than 24 executive actions. That's why we're able to pass a bipartisan agreement to deal with the gun violence that we're seeing in this country. Obviously, more work needs to be done. We need Congress to continue to act on making sure that our communities are safe. Yeah. Again, our hearts go out to this officer and
doesn't say his
and his
name.
family. It's a difficult time for them.
Doesn't say his name. Ready for this? And now here's one more clip just of her audio. She's blaming, she always does, the Republicans. Listen to this.
Under the previous administration, which repeatedly attempted to cut the COPS program, all of their budgets targeted that key funding for the police, and congressional Republicans just proposed doing it again. So this is a the Biden-Harris administration have done the polar opposite, taking decisive action from the very beginning to fund the police and achieving a historic reduction in crime under his leadership.
So by the way, whose idea was defund the police? Anybody? Does anybody remember that? It wasn't the Republicans, okay? So Pat, you see 4 presidents there. Some of them are there raising money for Joe Biden. Donald Trump flies from Florida, goes there, is with the family. It's almost as he's beating them every turn that he gets. You see the narrative. You see what one president's doing and what the other one's doing. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
So one is relying on the celebrity type of an event, Lizzo, the influence, Hollywood, getting their attention, and that's one way of doing it, because none of these decisions are made without somebody behind closed doors doing the math to say what's going to get us closer to raising more money to create ads against the other or for us. Mm-hmm. So, Barack, Clinton, and Biden are sitting there saying, look, let's do a fundraiser and raise money. Mm-hmm. America's going to forget about this event. This officer, great. Yeah, he's going to show up. America, within a news cycle, goes so quickly. Don't worry about it. We'll cover it up. 24, 48 hours, it's gone. So on the other side, what is happening today, even today with the guest that we had, Roland G. Fryer, right?
Amazing.
This is the professor, the doctor that at Harvard was the youngest tenure in 2009 at the age of 30. He was recognized by Time Magazine, top 100 person in the world, influential. Did a study in 2016, 2017 as an African-American, seeing if the cops are tougher on African Americans than whites,
especially with
gun violence. Gun violence. So he goes and does the first round of research. He says, "Whoa, the results are not good. They're actually gentler with African Americans than they are with whites. Let's do it again." So he does it again, and the results are the same. Then he brings it in, tells them There is none of this going on. This is false stuff that we're talking about. Sends the email, it's a 100-page report, and a person responds back within 5 minutes saying, this is bullshit. He says, wait a minute. How did you read it so quickly in 5 minutes? They didn't read it, but it goes against the plan and the narrative. Then Claudine Gay comes back and talks to Larry Bobo at the time to try to get this guy to lose his tenure and say, now we got to get rid of him. We got to get rid of him. And then long story short, she becomes the president with the help of Barack Obama, and she gets caught with plagiarism and all the positions that they take. And then she had to resign, but she still makes her $900,000 a year. He even said, he's doing a study right now on what cops are going through today. Everybody's talking about what everybody else is going through today, but what are cops going through today? What are cops' families going through today? When's the last study we did to find out what our cops' kids, parents, growing up without, spouses, siblings, communities? So the fact that Trump went over there, if America, those people who are for protecting your communities and taking care of the cops, if that resonates with them, they're going to sit there and say one went to raise money, one went to a funeral to give respect to the family. They're going to vote accordingly.
Yeah, and I get it, and you nailed it. I get it. Trump is taking an opportunity. I mean, obviously, if this was just any regular day, he probably, he has enough stuff going on in his life. But this is a constant narrative. Trump is there before. Trump is in East Palestine. Trump is at the border, and these guys keep coming second place.
Parting, and this topic hits really close to home. Back home, I used to run the biggest, police support organization there. We had a little bit of a summer of love back in Chile, and police were completely unsupported. Like, they wouldn't, while the riots were going on, they wouldn't let them use the bathroom. So we brought them diapers.
Cool.
It's not pretty to say it, but we brought them diapers, Gatorade, because it would be at the riots for hours on end. And we started this organization to help them out. We helped them out with trials. We helped them out with their kids, documentaries and whatever. And I think policing is such an important function of society in general. That's how we keep law and order. And most of the blame goes into the police forces, but a police here in Florida acts different than a policeman in New York. So you have DAs, you have judges that they will throw the book at them. Then you have the press that if you look up on the New York Times, there's a police story every single day.
Of course.
One of the police guys, they have a podcast called I think it's called Unsubscribe. And he already thinks it's funny because he gets 3 articles a week about something that he did. He looked at someone ugly or whatever.
Yeah.
Any word gets out, and they get pummeled. And without police, we can have a civil society on my side.
And look at even deeper. You mean to tell me there's 2 guys in a car that have been arrested 35 times? I'm thinking if you get arrested for attempted murder or something, you should be in there for at least enough time to where you're not out to do 35. What? So Pat, where's how does that happen? How is somebody arrested? Is it because New York is that type of place where they're catch, release, bail, this, that? How are these people still out in the streets after he's doing all that? He was out on bail he already did attempted murder, and he was out for a possession of a gun.
There's 3 different things. One, New York bad policies have consequences. You're seeing it in New York. There's plenty of examples in it. The squatters law that DeSantis changed here in New York, squatters law are being used to take advantage of the owners of homes. So bad policies have consequences. It's not going to be good for the existing politicians here. This is one of the reasons why we did something on PBD podcast a couple of weeks ago that does Trump actually have a chance at winning New York?
Yeah.
This is why Trump's administration thinks they could potentially win in New York. The one thing we haven't talked about is the following thing. Do you remember in 2016 when you're watching every day? I would be on Facebook and I'm like, this guy's doing another talk. Where is he? And this is at what time? 10 o'clock. Got it. 1 o'clock. Is this the same one? This is a different one?
Yeah.
He's in. Wow. Crazy. 5 o'clock. There's no way. Yeah. He's in another. So it was at a time where he was doing 20 talks, give or take a week.
Yep.
Hillary's doing 1.
Yep.
And everybody and their mothers thought Hillary was going to win, and we all know who won. They're forgetting this because what they're not thinking about is they're thinking 2024 is the same as 2020. The weapon they had in 2020 to take advantage of what was going on was a very rare climate, a black swan. What was the black swan?
COVID.
Can they win in a non-black swan? If there is no black swan and they go like this, doing all the celebrity type of tours, and Trump's going to the families and outworking them, this is gonna be a behemoth of a victory.
But that's the scary part, Pat. That's the scary part, is that black swan that they keep talking about, that they keep warning us about. They keep going on MSNBC and they have
making movies about it.
Movies, and it's like slowly but surely. And I'm happy that you talked about Trump, Pat, and the record. Although this is a tragedy, and I pray for the officer's soul and I pray for his family. You said this a couple of weeks ago, and I think I'm happy, not that it happened, but that Americans are getting to see a case study of 4 years of this guy and 4 years of this guy. You're getting to see it. So when it gets to the voting booths, it shouldn't be that much of a...
Vinny, it's an ongoing case study. Like, that's why the states are divided in states. They have different laws, and you can see how wonderful Florida is. You can see how great, Texas is, and then you go to New York, you go to California, and you can see it in real time. The same day, you can see what bad policies are and what good policies are. You're one airplane away from seeing like the final end of this happening.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And speaking of case studies, Rob and I were actually just doing a little research project into some things from the past. And while we were studying the Obama 2008 campaign, we were reflecting on how this guy had a relationship with police. And I come from a police family. My dad was a cop for 27 years down here.
Great.
And what we realized in that discussion was things were okay for a while. Like, Obama's victory seemed like a racial harmony coming out of the difficult times of the 90s. But then all of a sudden, Trayvon Martin happened, and race relations and community police relations got terrible. Even though George Zimmerman wasn't a cop, it sort of kicked off the whole Black Lives Matter movement. And there was a moment actually before Trayvon Martin where everybody got an idea of what Obama actually was about. And it was when his pastor, Dr. Jeremiah Wright, had a run-in with some police in his neighborhood. Obama came out and did a press conference and said, "The police acted stupidly in what they did." No president had ever accused cops of being stupid before.
Yeah.
But suddenly everybody knew where this guy stood. And remember, shortly after, he said, if I had a son, he would have looked like Trayvon and all that. There was a shooting in Dallas where somebody took out a few cops.
Oh, yeah, they're sniping them.
Yeah, sniping a bunch of cops. And nobody ever tried to follow up on that and say, hey, maybe the president's rhetoric is what led to this.
No. Or you'd be racist. Rob, what do you think?
Well, three things. It's not a cop issue and it's not a gun issue. I like that's the default argument.
Of course.
It's a gun issue. We need to, but if you take away the guns, you think the bad guys are just going to volunteer? They're
Hell
oh,
no.
you know
Here's
what,
my
you guys,
gun.
and we've seen that fail before. They've done bullets for shoes, and you'll get some people that come, but the bad guys that have bad intentions are going to hold on to their guns. They're going to try and take guns away from people who have them to protect themselves from the bad guys. So it's not a gun issue. It's realistically a criminal justice reform issue. How is somebody that's been arrested 21 times not only out on bail, if there was bail, we don't know if bail was waived, but how does he have access to a gun?
How's he? Yeah, and
Isn't it already illegal to have a gun?
Any of you guys
in
been
New York?
arrested? How many? Like, I've never been detained. I've never been in handcuffs. I've never been in the back of a squad car. How does that happen to you 21 times and you're still walking around on the street?
That's the system.
Robert, you're killing me. My boss is here. I can't say that.
Whatever happened in what country you're from that we're not allowed to say on the air?
That policing is different. But yeah, no, Rob, that's you're right. That's the nucleus of the problem is how are these people out in the streets? And it's not as if, guys, like New York, this is such a surprising thing. When the governor has to deploy, by the way, Army, Air Force, when you're deploying National Guard to inside within your, in the tunnel, in subways, something's wrong. And instead of just putting Band-Aids on this shit, it's like, and I'm telling you right now, I think one of my remedies is I want to know what you guys think. And I actually wrote this down. I want to know what you guys think. So politicians should have a job review, meaning you just won, you're the governor. You're Governor Patrick Bet-David of New York. And you're in for, what's their term, 4? Is it 4 years for a governor? Let's say 4 years. I think regardless what your tenure is to be, you have, if they'll pick 3 categories. Either, I think crime has to be number 1, unemployment and something, maybe transportation, accidents or whatever. If it gets to a certain level, like of a breaking point, like what New York is like that, you have to get out. You have to step down. Like, if you could think about it, and whoever you were running against, whoever's the next one up, they have to come in. Because at what point, I want to.
Well, Vinny, we already have political job reviews. It's called an election. The problem is that our elections are so messed up with how it's done, where we have a media that will carry water for one candidate over another. The media's job is to hold people accountable for, hey, Governor so-and-so, in your state, crime is through the roof and quality of life has deteriorated dramatically. People can't afford basic goods. What are you doing about it? That should be how the media addresses politicians. And if they can't answer those questions, they get voted out. But instead, we get all these facts thrown around of like, oh, actually, believe it or not, Biden's done a fantastic job. Inflation doesn't actually mean what you think it means, and everything's fine, and everybody's doing great, and it's actually greedy corporations putting fewer potato chips in your bag. That's what they do to cover it up and stop the job review.
I think there's a problem bigger than just elections. I think in this country, there is a culture of a loss of respect for human life. I think it's part the media's fault. I also think technology plays into it, because you look at X, right? X, you can go on, and it was horrific to watch, but I'm looking for news of the Russian shooting when it was going on at the concert hall, and you're seeing videos of these armed terrorists walking in and shooting people.
And slicing throats.
So it becomes, people have been desensitized to it, and it does not help that Karine Jean-Pierre goes on and refuses to acknowledge the officer's name, to say she has a binder. She doesn't come to these press conferences unprepared. She comes prepared with a statement usually, right?
Yeah.
She said the officer twice, not his name.
Yep.
There's a reason for that. I hate to be going deeper than it is, but I look at that and I go, that's part of the reason why there's this loss of life. We're not putting a name on it. People it doesn't feel like a person died. You hear officer, not Jonathan Diller, father of one, husband, now has an infant at home without a father. They don't humanize these stories. They just brush it off. The officer. So now people who are watching this, they're not as emotionally impacted as they would be had they heard the press secretary, the president of the United States, coming out and talking about this officer and his family and the repercussions.
And what is Jean-Pierre doing while she's addressing it?
She's blinking and looking down.
She's saying also, look, the president's done so much on gun violence and addressing all these things, and we've reached bipartisan consensus. Well, it didn't work, obviously, because a cop just died.
And not to cut you off, and Trump goes out there, 77 years old. He talked for 2-3 minutes, didn't look down, knew everybody's name, looked at everybody in the camera, felt bad for the family. It's like, what are we even talking about?
Was it Breonna Taylor that it was say her name? Was that?
Say her name.
Why are we not having that same for this guy? Say his name. Why is there not this outrage that the White House won't even address the officer by his name? It's harmful.
This shouldn't be surprising. This is by design. The left detest police forces.
I think so, too.
We did a study, like when the protests were going on, and we look at the street signs, whatever they did, the graffitis and whatever. The most common one is ACAB. Like most Antifa guys will tag, you know what it is?
ACAB. All cops are bastards.
All cops are
bastards. Wow.
They are against. There's a bunch of, degenerate philosophers that are against police forces. They detest them. Like when she came out there, she was like physically disgusted of having to defend the cop or say anything. Even saying officer was hard for her because she doesn't care. She wants the complete destruction of this police force because it's not their police force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not getting better, by the way, and it's not getting New York. I'm telling you right now, two of my cousins, my aunt lives in New York, and my other cousins live in New York, and they're like, listen, we're scared to even go. Because you saw the video the other day, Pat, where their TikTokers are just getting sucker punched in the head. Guys, illegals are beating the shit out of New York City's finest, and they're walking out of jail, and they're doing this, and it's like, if you're not a New Yorker, and then because we're going to close back, but and we talked about the election, but now Hochul, I don't know how much longer does she have. When it's that abysmal of a record, and Mayor Adams, there's no like, hey guys, we got to get these. You can't like impeach them and get them the hell out, can you?
Well, no, he made a perfect point on the job review is election. That is the job review we have, and you have to be careful because watch what they try to do with Trump is impeach. I'm sitting with my Goldman Sachs guy this week, and he said the economy does the best when no one party owns all three branches. It's like not branches. You got Senate, House, and presidential position. As long as it's broken, it's divided, stock market performs the best. When it is all on one side, stock market doesn't trust it. They don't, because that's when you make radical laws, whatever that may be. Forget the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So what if they had the Senate 66%? What if they had the House? What if they had? Then you have Trump being impeached. Then what happens? Then let's impeach. Let's impeach. Let's impeach. Let's impeach. Then you can't have momentum of governing. So, but people have to pay very close attention. Again, the biggest thing with this is a part of all of this stuff happening is someone's going to come in. If there's no black swan, there's going to be constant pressure on the opposite side to get your streets cleaned up. Because who is right now calling out New York? Nobody is.
Nobody is.
Podcasters are.
Us.
But who's calling them out? Not many people.
Nope.
Once the election changes and the job review comes for Biden, somebody new gets in, it's going to be very different New York.
Okay, I hope so, Pat. Okay, guys, moving on to the next story. Alberto, the Venezuelan elections, and for you guys out there that are just like, oh, he's Venezuelan. No, he's from Chile. So, because you know, somebody's gonna be like, what is he?
Find me.
Go for it.
Anyhow, it's actually about the Venezuelan election or the lack thereof of
Okay.
election, because I don't think an election or a fair election is happening.
Okay.
I brought this book, suggested reading for
Show it to them. Okay, there we go.
know.
Why socialism works.
Yeah,
It's a great book.
And
Let me see the first. What's the first? Oh, it doesn't.
doesn't.
Okay,
So-
beautiful. Oh, that's the whole book. That person's a millionaire off of that.
That's the whole
I
book.
love
It just doesn't. It
It's
just
over
doesn't.
and over and over again. It does it. That's so funny.
Okay, so our Democratic elected leader.
Look at that. That's
Every page.
that's hilarious.
Every
Well, you just
page.
ruined it because now they've already read it now. But go ahead.
Well, anyhow, our president, we're running out of gas, goes like, hey, Maduro, how about if I take off the sanctions, but you run a fair election?
Okay.
He was wrong. Can we go to the next slide? The whole condition for him, pulling out, this map is a little bit of context, so we're going to be talking the whole South America.
Okay, and it's in Spanish, so you have to translate for us.
In South America, it's the other way around.
Oh, gotcha.
Red means good.
Okay, red's
No,
good.
no, red is bad.
Red is bad.
Red is
Got you,
bad.
got you.
And blue is good.
Okay.
Like here is the other way around.
All right.
Anyhow, this is the last map. So we have Argentina with Milei, that is libertarian, right leaning. We have Uruguay and Paraguay
Okay.
and El Salvador.
Got you.
Important one because I'm gonna bring them up later.
Okay.
And that's how it looks like. Like last few elections, South America swung left real hard.
Wow.
Super hard. But all these presidents, most of them, because they still have constitutions, they have to get elected. Okay. Here's the key point. Can we go to
The next slide.
the next slide? What happened? He didn't run the first election. He signed up for the election because you need to have a registration. Maduro was able to register his candidacy like 13 days before the election. And till this day, the opposition is not able to register their candidate. The candidate is called Maria Corina.
She can't register.
She can't register. Like they run up because he's been in power for almost 20 years. They run a bunch of like fake opposition guys. I actually met one of them that was in jail.
Okay.
And they run these fake candidates or candidates that don't have a chance. And for the first time, the last year, Maria Corina, she's been getting momentum. So she actually had a fair chance of winning the election.
All right.
And he hated that. He hated it. Why, if you can lose, why run? Oh, you know what's funny? North Korea runs elections.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do run elections.
Come on.
And yes, and Kim Jong-un last time won with 99% of the vote.
And guess what? The other 1%? They're all dead.
They're all dead.
They're all in
Never been seen again.
Yeah, they're all in work.
I know they're all in work camps, but they need to perform elections. Even in China, they perform elections as well. So back to the point. So he broke the deal with Biden to run fair elections, and for the first time ever, other South Americans leaders are calling him out. The first one that was very strange. It was the president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, who is a criminal. He was actually it's true.
Okay.
He was actually a criminal. He was actually convicted. He went to jail.
Operation Car Wash.
Great documentary.
That's
Did you
what
watch it?
That's what it.
Oh,
Oh, it's
he's
sick.
He is a
Gangster.
Oh, the stuff this guy did in Brazil, it's absolutely insane.
It's insane.
He does Operation Car Wash, steals around $600 million, give or take,
Okay.
from taxpayers, goes to jail. Then there is this judge. Do you know who I'm talking about? The
Overnick.
scariest man in Brazil,
Yeah.
period. Do you know what this? Have you seen what this guy looks like?
No.
What's Kelly? Are you able to pull up his picture from Brazil?
What's his name?
If you type in Brazil, Judge Maduro. Just type in Brazil, Judge.
No, Judge Lula.
name
I'm
is
sorry,
Judge
Brazil
Lula?
Judge
Yeah.
Lula. No, it's under Lula, but you'll see him.
He's a
if you go to
scary-
images, images, you'll see him. Zoom in. He's a bald-headed guy. No, that's not him.
That's
Anyways,
Lula
this guy
himself.
comes up. They decide they need somebody to run against Bolsonaro.
Okay.
They release Lula. Lula comes back in, beats Bolsonaro. The streets of Brazil are protesting like you wouldn't.
Hundreds of thousands of people.
Not
Like
hundreds of
millions?
thousands of people.
Millions.
Oh
No,
wow.
millions of that guy right there.
That
That
guy
is
looks
the
like,
most-
yeah.
Yeah.
that guy looks like a bad guy in every movie.
Like, yeah.
He is the most feared man in all of Brazil.
Maybe a whole South
Well,
America.
That's perfect because how does every communist cultural revolution start? They empty the prisons. They take all the most dangerous criminals and pump them back out to cause problems. This time they just happen to elect one of the criminals.
Oh
So-
wow, that bad, huh?
And this is not the only bad guy there. Like I'm going off track, but
Yeah.
this guy they release him from jail to run the election. Okay, the guy from Colombia. Okay, he was literally a terrorist. He was in the guerrillas. Like he was arrested and got out with another name. Okay. The guy, Maduro, they're running a bunch of cartels there. He's actually like he's like the face you can see, the guy that actually runs things there. His name is Diosdado Cabello.
Okay.
Who is running with all the gangs and everything. They say Al Qaeda is there. A bunch of the Mexican cartels move operations there. The Chinese, they have military bases there. Because the country's running on empty. Like they used to be a super rich country. Like back here, like in South Florida, if you were Venezuelan, like there was Latinos and then there was Venezuelans. Like,
Really?
oh, dude, they were like the finest people. They will grab jets.
best.
The best.
And then what
It,
happened?
it was known as the happiest people in the world. Guinness Book of World Record, Venezuela produces the happiest people in the world. And then they took over the country and destroyed it.
Damn it.
They have as much oil as Saudi Arabia with a beautiful, beautiful country. The best beaches you will see in your life. The most beautiful woman you see in your life. Hi to my wife who's Venezuelan. And they had it super good. And then the same businessmen that, were having the time of their life, they decided to put a socialist in power. First it was Chavez, who ran an election and won democratically. And then they changed the constitution, and then they stay in power until this point.
Yeah.
So our boy Milei calls him out. I can't repeat here on the podcast what he said.
Okay. Could you say in Spanish? Could you say in Spanish or we're gonna I mean, we're past. You're gonna say in Spanish?
Yeah. Socialista empobrecedor. That means like impoverishing socialist, and then the other words.
The bad words. Got it.
Everyone will know the other
Yeah.
words. And on the other hand, the guy from Colombia, Petro, who's a terrorist, got mad about Milei, talking big talk about Maduro, and he pulled out like yesterday all the Argentinian ambassador from Colombia.
Oh wow. That's not
So
good.
yeah, things are getting heated up in the whole South America.
What happened to one Guaido or Guaido?
Guaido.
Guaido.
Okay,
because they were competing. He was hiding in Colombia, and then they bought him, and he went in his administration. Very weird thing happened there.
Okay, he was the interim president of Venezuela.
Right.
They run an election through Congress. He got elected, but he was, I know some of his posy, I know some of his crew, but he was controlled opposition. Some of his people, they went to jail. One of them managed to get his wife pregnant while in jail without getting out. That's weird. He had kids while in jail without visits. So like this was the first time in the last few years, because I don't think this will have a democratic answer.
Okay.
Like I don't think it's possible to get a violent regime that has guns and drugs and things to get it out of power by voting. I talked to my wife about doing this story, and she was like, don't even, they're so hopeless there that there's no way out of this rut that they're having. And then Biden, easing up the sanctions, it just makes it worse because this brings new money into the country, so they're able to run the regime longer.
So how bad is Venezuela looking right now? Like it's not.
It's looking bad, but here the difference is, I was in Argentina, Buenos Aires, so I go there, and I don't know what the population is, but some 40% of people work to pay and support the other 60%. That's how bad Argentina was. Inflation numbers were ridiculous. Here's a beautiful country, the Paris, the France of, South America, just a gorgeous place, great food, the steaks, everything you go eat. Socialism destroyed Argentina. Who showed up? Milei showed up. Eventually, when the people got tired. Venezuela's slightly different. They've been able to have a chokehold more than others because they have a resource that everybody around the world needs.
Yeah.
And because they have that resource, they hold all the other countries hostage, saying, I'll give you the deal that you want, but you got to release and help me stay in power. So the other countries like, we don't care about your country, literally.
Yeah, of course.
We'll keep you in power as long as you give us the deal with the oil because we just want your oil. So unfortunately, they're able to negotiate not in the best interest of the people, and it keeps destroying it until somebody eventually gets tired of it, like a Milei coming out, but it's more likely in Argentina than it is in Venezuela.
And he's absolutely right. Now, socialism doesn't work so much that I think last year they had like 3% of production. Like they can't even drill oil out of the ground. Like they're like at 5% of like the possible oil production you have because you don't have anyone to work there. They steal all the money for investments, so it just doesn't work. And the difference between Argentina, like it's funny because you have Cuba. There was a bloody revolution. You had side A against side B. They shot at each other. One of them won. You install the communist regime. Then Venezuela is 2.0, that you had guys with guns, but it was mostly democratic. So like you get a mix of people that are willing to kill and a mix of people that are democratic. So it's really hard to untangle the situation there because like you can always do business. You can do business anywhere. You can go to Haiti and do business. You can do business in Venezuela. Just like the worse the country gets, the riskier the business is. The more profits you can get, and it's not good for the soul to do, like that type of business, but people still do business. And you have these people, a lot of them live here in Miami. They're called testaferos, that they clean up, like dirty money from Venezuela. They open people bank accounts here in America. They go there, they grab the money, they clean it up here. So there's people still around them, they're called enchufados or plugged in, that still do business. So you have so many layers of like actual people that are just making a buck, people that believe in the cause, and the rest of the people that, as Pat says, they depend on welfare the whole time.
Who's protecting, like when it comes to their army and stuff like that, what's somebody not taking over Venezuela? Like, why can't somebody just... like, you guys are weak. You guys... do they have a strong military?
They don't have a very strong military, but nobody cares enough. That's what happens.
But, I mean, if you have all that oil, that'd be... I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, America finds out you have oil. All of a sudden, we say you have weapons of mass destruction, and we're there.
The guy from...
you know what I mean?
I don't know what Blackwater is called now. I think it's called Academy. He said that it will cost around $20 million. He has a plan ready to liberate Venezuela, and they didn't put up the money.
Only 20 million?
Yeah, that's
to liberate it.
Yeah, that's
extremely
what
low.
he said it will cost.
Pat can pay that right now. What are we talking about?
Well, you need to sign that declaration. That's an international war crime. You don't want to go down that route.
Dude, Valuetainment's trying to expand. I don't know.
But
how serious we're trying to
have
get.
a country.
Venezuela.
Imagine that. Matthew Bet David takes over Venezuela and Rob's on the
VP
front like with a
Venezuela.
gun. Like, oh shit.
live streaming from
Oil
Caracas.
tycoon and war criminal Patrick.
But and then 3.0 is Argentina. That was fully democratic. Those guys, they've been winning votes because they use the welfare system to pay people off 40%, pay for the bill for everyone else. And it's funny because watching the videos after Milei, cut a bunch of jobs, you heard people complaining that now they had to find a job. People that have been living like for generations off the government, they're like, how am I going to get a job? How am I going to work? Because they get payments. So we'll see what's going to happen. I was going to talk about the Mexican leader, but, like...
You say what you were going to say about Mexico, because that's a good segue.
It's a good... Well, our guy AMLO here, by the way, he didn't... Like most left-leaning leaders, they spoke out about Venezuela not having elections. This guy is one of the guys that didn't speak out and actually defended Maduro in a way. He made some really weak remarks. And then when it came down to it, he defended Venezuela to deal with their own internal affairs. Like, I'm super ashamed that the president of my country, who's an absolute idiot, he's younger than me and he has no degree on nothing.
He has no clue what the hell's going on.
No clue what's going on. But yeah, that's what it is. And AMLO only opened his mouth to blackmail the United States for the border situation.
Great. All right, well, Beto, thank you so much, bro. All right, guys, Moving on to the next subject. Connor, speaking of, Mexico, you're going to talk about the Mexican takeover.
Speaking of President AMLO from Mexico, that's Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, a man with entirely too many names. He was on 60 Minutes on Sunday. I don't know if any of you guys caught that, but they discussed something that he absolutely denied was diplomatic blackmail. The rest of the world recognizes is, in fact, diplomatic blackmail. During his appearance on 60 Minutes, he was saying that he got a phone call from Biden last year, around December, after record high numbers of immigrants at the U.S.-Mexico border. And he said, because Biden asked, I took steps and we cut immigration in half. We stopped people from coming over. But he said, if you don't do certain things, the flow will continue. I will stop doing that, and which, that should be a threat, but for whatever reason, 60 Minutes just let him get away with it. His new demands are $20 billion per year to poor Latin American countries, lifting the sanctions on Cuba, or lifting sanctions on Venezuela, ending the blockade of Cuba, and legalizing and giving work visas to 10 million Mexican immigrants in the United States. I believe we have a clip of him making those demands.
Look at Biden's right hand.
In the year of the White House, President Lopez Obrador proposed his fix, that the United States commit $20 billion a year to poor countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, lift sanctions on Venezuela, end the Cuban embargo, and legalize millions of law-abiding Mexicans living in the U.S.
If they don't do the things that you've said need to be done, then what?
The flow of migrants will continue.
Your critics have said what you're doing or what you're asking for to help secure the border is diplomatic blackmail. What do you say?
I'm speaking frankly. We have to say things as they are. And I always say what I feel. I always say what I think.
If they don't do those things, will you continue to help to secure the border?
Yes, because our relationship is very important. It is fundamental.
So, yes, he said he would continue helping. To clarify, in December, there were about 250,000 recorded migrant encounters at the border. So if he cut that in half, how many is that?
30.
That's 125,000. Which, great. Thanks for the help. That's still far, far too many. But his insistence on, I want all these things. This is what the United States will do, and if they do that, then I will continue holding back the flow of immigrants. How is that not the way you talk to someone who is inferior to you?
That is exactly how you do it.
That is how you talk to a client state, where if you are a powerful country and there is a country that you basically get to dictate to, that's how that goes. So what does that say about the United States relationship with Mexico? Who really has the power there? Just like with Ukraine, just like with Israel, all these countries who can say, hey, we want more money, we want more weapons. We're going to make sure there's some real problems for you if you don't fork it over.
Well, this is what happens when you go from having a businessman in the White House to having a man that has no business being in the White House. You know what I mean? That attitude, that stature, that business savvy, and that no BS, we'll F you up. And that's exactly what happens.
Well, and that goes back to Venezuela. Does Maduro go back on his word if Trump's in office? Right? Why do you go back on your word? Well, because I'm not worried about what you're going to do in retaliation. And it doesn't seem like we're going to retaliate because we have weak leadership.
F around and find out. You know what I think this is going on? Because this yapping that he's doing, America's number one. We know this. We have weak leadership right now, but the future looks bright. And I look forward to what's going to happen the next few years. Once that border is secure, as we're going to secure it, because that's what's going to happen, that border will be secured. I'm 100% sure that border will be secured. Maybe not this year, not next year, not for you, but it will be secured. Okay? What's going to happen is when you put a cap on anything, people are going to bounce back from that wall. And what they're doing, they have literally a corridor of people. And it's not people from Mexico. There's great Mexicans that I love. And there's people coming from Africa. There's people coming from
Middle East.
There's people coming from there. And they're cool with them coming into the country and using it as a highway. But once we close that border, this guy is going to have major trouble. And that's happening within the next 3 years, maybe within the next year. Like the wall is going to stop. I don't know wall, or maybe the laws or law enforcement. I don't know how to stop a border.
Yeah, it has to be.
But the things that they were cool with, because like people come all the way from Peru, people come all the way from Venezuela. Like it's a long road there, and they let them safe passage because they know they're not going to stay there. But eventually they're going to stay there. And what are they going to do for health? What are they going to do for safety? A bunch of gang members are coming across the border, so he is preparing to see if he can get the last few bucks, like the last few bucks from Biden to deal with the situation that is coming. And it's coming. Like, I'm 100% sure.
Because bear in mind, he's been implicated in various cartel schemes and everything.
Course.
The entire Mexican government is run by cartels.
Yeah.
So this guy, even though he's on his way out,
he might be the head of it for all we know.
Yeah.
Pat, when you see something like that and you hear him saying, basically threatening, like, if you guys don't, that's a shakedown. If you don't give me money, I'm going to keep bringing people and flood your country.
There's only one reason why he talks like that, because he can. It's that simple. You're giving him permission to talk like that. If he is that confident to speak that boldly, Kelly, can you play that again and go to the last answer, the way he rolled his eyes? Go to the last answer when she asked the question. Right there, this one. Watch this.
They are. And I always say what I feel. I always say what I think.
If they don't do those things,
Watch
will
this.
you
Look at
continue
this
to
face.
help to secure the border?
Yes.
Do you see the eyes?
Yeah, he doesn't.
You know what that is? Who are you guys?
Yeah. Our
Lack of
relationship is
respect
very-
for America. And if someone looks at you that way, it's because you've done something to lose that respect. America is allowing him to talk like that, and it makes sense. I'm not surprised.
Well, remember, less than a month ago, this is the same guy who said, we will no longer be accepting or allowing in planes of deportations from Texas. In protest of the fact that Texas wanted to start deporting people, he said, hey, if you put migrants on a plane, try to fly them back to Mexico, we'll say no and turn them back around.
So he doesn't want him there, but
he doesn't want him there
wants
either.
here.
Well, he's not alone in that. Malay tried to deport people to Venezuela, and they made him turn the plane around. Same with Chile. They make the plane, like, because they leave, and they won't allow them back in. Like, it makes no sense. And you know what? Like, I don't want to blame America, because it's the greatest country, but our policy about South America has been so weak the last 30 years. Like, I think NATO doesn't make sense as long as Cuba is a communist state that is less than 40 miles from here. Like, NATO's a joke. It's a joke. You can't take it seriously if you have literally the center of communism 40 miles away.
Yeah, that's a good
You know,
point.
like, they're not taking it seriously. Like, if we took that seriously, we could have freed Cuba like years ago, you know? And same with Venezuela. What do? We release sanctions. So that's what Pat says. Like, he does it because he can. That's what it is.
Of course, but when it comes to that border, like, bro, this situation, don't get me wrong. Trump said border, yeah, they started building, they were fighting it and everything. The influx that's going to be in 4 years, the real number, because I know you're talking about inflating the number. Let's say 18 to 20 million people are going to be here. There's no way anybody that comes in is going to get a third of those people out. Absolutely no way. Let's not start BSing each other. And that wall that you're talking about, when do you think a type of construction for that? Because you did the math on the PBD podcast. What was it, Pat? $5 billion? We even threw in more cash. What was
$5 billion, but America likes to overpay even $20 billion.
Let's say $20
billion gets the whole thing done.
Like, from start to finish, the entire border with double level, and, by the way, tunneled down, the steel goes all the way down. I'm telling you guys right now, when people say walls don't work, if we don't get serious and get as serious as Egypt is with their border, with barbed wire and all that shit, guys, it's unbelievable, because you're not going to get rid of those people. You're not going to get rid of 20 million people.
No, what's scary is the people that aren't being identified, because we've talked about this, Pat. There are people, like, there's actual programs for the people who are coming in illegally. You can receive money. They'll put you in different cities. But the people who are avoiding that, who are going and not wanting to be identified, why don't they want to be identified? What are they hiding? Why would they come to a country with nothing and then turn down free money and free assistance? Because they're trying to go unidentified. And those are the people that scare me. That's why you get a warning from the Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security. already saying there's going to be careful this weekend on
weekend.
Easter. And nobody's even talking about
Nobody
it on
cared.
Facebook.
I know.
Remember, after 9/11, we had the terror alert system where every time the color changed, it was a huge deal. Every news station reported on it.
Yeah.
Nobody reported on
you know what?
this
And
week.
This makes me especially angry. Sorry. You know, like
No,
we
don't
didn't, we didn't do enough yelling. Like for me to get here, like I had to work my whole life to come to this country. It's been my lifelong dream to come here. Like people like me that would go to school, would do everything right, we're put in a list, they check every single document, they get reference letters, whatever. Those people like me were capped at 80,000. We're capped.
Wow.
You know? And they let 80,000 in 2 days. So I don't know. Like, do we want to miss out on talent? Like, and I'm still, you know, because I'm on a work visa right now, I'm still going to have to fight my way to stay here. I will do it. Because
I'll marry you if I have to.
Great. Thank you,
Is that how it works?
And on the visa and asylum subject, we just did a report at VT.com that the Biden administration, since taking power in 2021, has dismissed 200,000 deportation cases because they didn't file the paperwork correctly. They give a migrant who's intercepted at the border a piece of paper, a notice to appear in immigration court. Frequently, those court dates aren't for another 10 years. But the people are called to show up, but the DHS has to file separate paperwork to schedule the appointment, and they don't. And it would be as simple as, oh, we missed the date, we'll just file it and change the date, and then it's all good. But they don't refile in 75% of the cases. So that's all these deportations that are getting thrown out. And then at the same time, Shane, my co-writer at VT.com, just did a report yesterday. The head of the Border Patrol Union is accusing Biden of taking migrants from the border before they are registered, and they fly them around the country so that the numbers look smaller. Yeah. And they can say, oh, the interceptions were down this month because you didn't record them. You just dropped them off somewhere else.
And that's not Alex Jones or somebody saying that. That is the
head of the Border Patrol Union, which is
actually
government worker
by the
union.
way, who does not like Joe Biden or Mayorkas.
It makes me feel really dumb. You know, it spends thousands of dollars in lawyers and do all the paper and what stuff. I'm just gonna go to Texas, walk in, walk out, and
I don't. You know, I'm being
dead serious.
Why
I feel stupid.
are regular people doing the process? You are blissfully ignorant if you don't use the playbook that everybody else is doing, and you nailed it. Wherever
I know
you
I'm stupid.
Just what the hell are you doing out there? You're not following you're not following the guidelines that people are showing you. Like even Djokovic, remember when they wouldn't let him come in for COVID? Remember they're like, no, get the hell out of here. I told him. I said it on the podcast. Fly to Mexico, put on a sombrero, get your ass in here.
Well, it is coming back around because Bolsonaro was just arrested or just charged criminally for faking COVID papers to get into the U.S.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the many ways they're trying to get him with, Lula being a criminal and all. But if you want more on that, we got to get Estris, our tech guy, on to talk about it.
I love Estris.
Yeah, he told me he doesn't want to be on camera. All right, Connor, thank you so much. Moving on to the next story. Rob G. I love that because I already heard about the solar eclipse, but I love reading solar eclipse conspiracy. I don't use that word anymore, by the way, but go ahead, Rob.
I don't either, but the news does. So on April 8th, coming up in just a week or so, a total solar eclipse will occur. It's going to cross North America from Mexico all the way across the United States up into Canada. The eclipse's path will cross Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. However, I came across a very interesting story yesterday. This is from QZ.com. The total solar eclipse is leading to some totally wild conspiracy theories.
Oh, I love that.
Kelly, could you show the headline? There it is. From QZ.com. They say conspiracy theories have emerged on platforms like YouTube and TikTok, suggesting apocalyptic interpretations tied to biblical prophecy and technological collapse. This is all tied into the solar eclipse. One common claim is that the eclipse will pass over towns named Nineveh, correct?
Correct.
Nineveh.
Oh, wow.
Believed to be a sign from God. Here is a influencer talking about the conspiracy theories tied to the solar eclipse.
Eclipse thing, man, it's getting weird, dude. It's literally going to pass over 8 cities named Nineveh. This person said, isn't Nineveh a place God told Jonah to go repent? Biblically, the number 8 represents a new beginning, meaning a new order of creation, a man's true born-again event. Then they're saying be ready for, like, power outages and stuff like that. Cell service disruptions.
Uh-oh.
Buy necessary groceries. Look, Solar powered block, man. It's got a flashlight, obviously.
Oh, you can cut it. This is where he just
Smart.
plugs us out
What
of
he-
the solar
I mean,
charger.
yeah.
Not a dumb idea. But they claim that this is a conspiracy. However, the New York State Police, and this is from Newsweek, March 22nd, solar eclipse sparks warning about cell phones. The New York State Police Department issued a warning about potential cell service disruptions during the upcoming solar eclipse. Concerns have been raised nationwide about stretched public safety resources, strained local hospitals, and congested roadways due to the influx of eclipse viewers.
What?
You're telling me that hospitals are going to be overrun? You're going to need extra public safety resource officers because people are going to go out and stare?
Yeah.
That's exactly. And so it's very odd. And then at least 4 states in the United States, again, this is Newsweek. So this isn't, I hate to go back to Alex Jones, but Infowars.com or some other arguable website. This is Newsweek saying the surge in at least 4 states have advised residents to prepare for the event by stocking up on groceries, gas, and medical prescriptions ahead of the solar eclipse. Why would you need to have extra police, extra hospital staff on call, and extra medicine, food, groceries, and gas for an eclipse? Doesn't seem weird.
It's kind of.
It's also weird that you'd have to start preparing, like in a panic. We've been able to accurately predict when an eclipse is going to happen months and years ahead of time for like a few hundred years now. I don't know where this is all coming from. Like we're about to regress to ancient Aztec society of, I guess we got to keep sacrificing people until the sun comes back.
Like apocalypto.
Yeah, and tell the time with a sundial.
Yeah.
We're going to go all the way back.
We're going back to the
Does that
Stone
all
Age.
make you nervous?
I'm already nervous, so I'm already prepared.
They say only the paranoid survive.
Like Pat,
so.
when you see a story like that, and I'm being genuine, when you see something like that, after we've been hearing everything from Leave the World Behind, which it kind of sounds, every story is sounding like that. All the stuff that they're telling you, does that bother you at all, honestly?
No, not at all. No. I mean, even, during COVID, Thanksgiving, don't have more than 5 family members. Don't go visit your grandmother. Don't go don't go do this. Grandma's 82 years old. You want me to leave her alone? This is the only thing she's looking at. Don't have her come over to the house. If you guys have the parties, we're going to do this. California, anybody that is driving around and is non-essential, you have to report them in. And if you send them in, we're going to give you a $200 bounty for snitching and telling me that. I mean, this is fear porn at the highest level. Now, some of the stuff, eventually, just so everybody knows, one of these is going to be right.
Oh, that's what I was just going to say.
Okay.
Because they're just...
It's sheer numbers. Sheer numbers.
Eventually, one day, it's going to be like, you're going to you guys are here. You're finally here. Get out, right?
Yeah.
And aliens and stuff. But if you truly had a friend of mine, relative, I said, you are so deep in every one of these conspiracies that you followed that you're not enjoying life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because if you get too much into every one of them, you're a pretty difficult person to be around all the time.
Yeah.
True.
Truly. So now you have 2 choices, okay? You actually have 3 choices.
All right.
You can have more if you want to, but I'm just going to give you 3 of them.
Okay.
One choice is all in. Follow everything and be super paranoid about all of them, okay? Number 2, don't give a shit about any of it.
Got you.
Nothing.
Okay.
Don't follow any of it. Don't do nothing. The market, COVID, manipulation, election, 0.
Yeah.
Or you can be here. I would say be here.
Yeah.
Okay?
A little paranoid.
To me,
Yeah.
To me, it's always, if there's a 0 to 100, 0, you really don't give a shit about 100. You're going insane. I'm always 65.
Okay.
65 is a place to be. If you can live your life with 65 in all areas of your life, your kids, your marriage, your friendships, your family, your health, your finance, your business, your career, you're going to be fine.
Vinny's at like 94.
But I
most
tell you,
days.
if you're here, I'm telling you, it's as toxic as being around super negative people.
I could agree. I do agree. I would say, because you're at 65, I'm more, I would say 75, 80, because But mind you, my day goes up. I don't
You're not part of that camp.
No, yeah.
You know what kind of people I'm talking about?
What do you mean?
You know exactly.
I know
The
that
tinfoil
every
hat?
single thing.
No, you
when
know
you
what
look
I'm talking
up,
about.
It's
I'm not talking about
chemtrails,
us.
Yeah, no.
everything.
No,
I
you know
can't
what?
stand those people.
Here's who we are. You know, like, right? People are watching this podcast, right?
Yeah.
They don't realize this camera could be off. We're still talking like this.
100%.
A culture of valuetainment is every room is like this.
Yeah.
Downstairs is like this. Upstairs is like this. Lunch is like this. Breakfast is dinner is like this. We're podcasting 24/7. We just don't have cameras around all the time, right? And we're asking these types of questions. All I'm saying is, if you're the kind of a person, you watch a movie and a video, 17 signs your husband's cheating on you. Hey, babe, can I see your Snapchat?
Yeah.
What code do you use? Why do you use Signal? Where were you?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you going to be? Who is that person? What is that call? Bro, forget that marriage.
Yeah, it's
you're
over.
done.
But a little bit, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
If she's a little bit jealous, if you're a little bit jealous, it's actually healthy.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you still jealous? Or you still think I'm going to do something to you? That's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Versus 24/7.
She goes and buys like a different size shoe and just throws it in the living room.
Or if she's like, or if you're like, hey, babe, I'm going to go out with 3 girls just met at work and we're just going to go hang out. Go ahead, babe. I don't care. You're almost like,
what the hell did you just say?
see,
She asked 4. She asked 4.
where are you going to go?
They're hot, and I'm going out.
Yeah.
See, what concerns me isn't so much all of them, right? I don't get trapped into all.
The 3 girls or the 4 boys?
I have been prepared. I've always been prepared. I think you need to when we live in a climate that we live in Florida, where we have hurricane season 6 months out of the year. You could lose power for months at a time. I've lived here where it's happened. What scares me are the people that are on this side too far that don't care. And what happens if something does happen and then their panic sets in? Because I feel like most people are prepared. They can get through a few days worth without
say
having
3-4
food
days.
if electricity goes out. But when it becomes a week, when it becomes 2 weeks, the people who spent all of that time not giving a shit, not paying attention, how do they react? And how do you prepare to defend against those people who aren't prepared?
But there's a difference between being prepared against a hurricane. You have to be.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, do you buy a life insurance policy? Not because you think you're dying tomorrow, because eventually when you do, you don't want as a breadwinner, you want to make sure you have auto insurance for that. All of that is natural, healthy.
You will die. You will crash.
That's right. That's taxes paid on time. All that stuff is healthy dosage.
But that's a 50.
But you make a very good point. Because the people who don't give a shit, their level of panic from 0 to 100 is going to come in and say, bro, you got to bail me out.
Yeah,
You're going to be like, dude, I only have this much corn. Get out.
Yeah, they're coming to your house.
And you know, this has another function. Like, it fills my soul. It's fun to be at the 75% or 80, Vinny. Let's be clear. We're at 85.
I mean, I just don't trust. Nowadays, I just don't trust. This is my thing. I don't trust who's going to be behind it if it is something. Because I just saw a podcast with Dr. Greer. This is not his name. Dr. Greer.
Yeah, Stephen Greer.
It's Stephen Greer, the alien guy?
Alien guy.
I can't believe I remembered it. He's like, I'm telling you guys right now, they're going to fake and stage the alien invasion because when it's interplanetary, because think about this, okay? COVID, everybody was doing their own thing, but how do you get everybody to come together? This dude, it gave me goosebumps yesterday. How do you get everybody to come together? Black, white, tall, rich, poor. Everybody has to come, and you have the military get involved, our government, and martial law. It has to be a threat that's not from here. Because think about it. If the news right now came on and they go, hey, guys, late breaking, we've been contacted by an alien, and they're telling us to do X, Y, and Z, or else they're going to attack. Guess what happens? Everybody falls in line. Remember that group that we're talking about over here? That panicked? They're shitting in their pants. They're losing their minds, bro. And that's what they're wanting to.
I want to say the positive side that Pat said that we talked about this all the time. I wish we had cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about talking about these things is that we're not talking about money and last weekend and this and that. And when you're talking conspiracy, like a bunch of like bigger arcing themes and like you get, like, I think I know you because we usually talk about this more than if we're talking about our family, about that thing. Because I see how you see things. You know, it's different.
Yeah.
You know, what are you scared of? What are your goals? Who do you not trust?
Yeah.
You have any idea how hard it is to get work done when Vinny comes up with a new theory and needs to tell everybody?
Well, thanks for saying that in front
I
of
love
CEO
it.
Connor.
I love
mean, he's
it.
right there.
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Great. Well, we got to start recording again.
it's the perk of working
He's
here.
a narc.
I do agree.
Yeah, he's a narc.
Thanks.
I do agree that the most united this country I've ever seen us was the days after 9/11.
Big
right?
time.
So what was the foreign enemy in that? It was the Taliban Al Qaeda, Osama bin Laden,
Who they
who's a
called us to.
foreign
Yeah,
enemy.
yeah.
I think at this point the world is so fractured, especially if something did happen. The finger pointing is so much other countries that there would need to be some type of staged invasion. And what's scary about that is they come and they talk to Biden. That's
my
terrifying.
goodness.
If they come and they negotiate with him,
Oh,
we're
man.
done. At least Trump would have been fun to watch that. That
Okay, so
hello, you have the best spaceship, the biggest spaceship.
If you guys had to guess, if it was a manufactured one, what are they going to do? I'm being hypothetical, not to be crazy. Go ahead.
Rob's got a lot of other
I want
stuff.
to come to you guys after. Go ahead.
It's very odd. April 8th, the day that the solar eclipse is happening, is also the day that they're firing up the Large Hadron Collider.
Hadron, whatever.
Yes, it is the world's largest particle accelerator. It has been dark for 2 years. The last time that it operated was in 2022. They do shut it down for periods of upgrade and maintenance, so that isn't irregular for it to be shut down. What is irregular is that after 2 years of being shut down, they decide to fire it up the same time.
Why?
They're having a solar eclipse.
It's a giant. Basically looks like a donut, and they accelerate particles around it to try to smash them together.
It's
high
miles
speeds.
long.
And what is this supposed to do with particles?
On April 8th, trillions of protons will collide in the LHC tunnel as scientists search for dark matter, which comprises around 28% of the universe.
Yeah, so it basically allows them to do things with particles they can't observe on Earth under normal
So
conditions.
they're trying to make a black hole. Is that what they're trying to do?
It's way over my head what they're actually trying to do.
Yeah.
It's just weird science stuff.
They say that every time they fire it up is, if you believe in all of the theories, it's when parallel shifts start.
So,
right?
like,
fantastic.
You're familiar with the Mandela effect, where you remember things that happened that there's no proof ever happened.
Berenstein Bears.
Or, was there ever a cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom logo? Was Chick-fil-A ever spelled with a K or whatever?
Yeah.
They say every time they turn the Hadron Collider on, it shoots us into a parallel timeline where things are different.
It's
very weird.
Why do we do stupid shit like that?
I know.
In the
Can
name
we
of science.
Just leave us the hell alone. Like,
Things are good enough.
But why on April 8th if you already know that, hey, there's a solar eclipse going on, and why are we going to fight?
And there's
all the days that day?
apparently a bunch of rocket launches going off at the same time as the eclipse. And apparently there's rumors of a group in Israel that's about to sacrifice a red heifer, which is supposed to cause the biblical apocalypse.
Really fun.
I don't
What's
even,
a red heifer?
It's a red female cow. There's a thing about, like, somewhere in ancient literature, if you kill the heifer and it ushers in the new temple, and then that causes the biblical apocalypse. It's very strange. Don't cite me as a authority on any of this, but it's,
I was gonna cover the
odd.
story, but I think the whole subject, because it gets real dark real quick, so I didn't want to cover it. But I have a spoiler for your story.
Go ahead.
Big spoiler. I think it was last year, the year before that. This already happened in the Southern Hemisphere. I was there. Very underwhelming. Very underwhelming.
What, the solar eclipse?
Yeah, the eclipse. I was there for the solar eclipse. I bought some gas station things. Yeah, like they're
And
like
nothing
they're like,
happened.
I said, no, it's cool, but it lasts like a second.
Yeah.
By the way, I will not be looking up at the sun at this.
You remember when Trump stared at it
I'm
with
gonna
no
be at
glasses?
work. You're gonna be at work.
My favorite.
He took the glasses off, pointing up at the sun.
Blind.
No other president like
All right,
him.
well, Bob. So this is on the 8th, right?
Yes, April 8th. So, enjoy. They say if you're in the New York area, be prepared for 12-hour-long traffic to get home because of people. Yeah, because of gridlock due to people going out and watching the eclipse.
God.
12 hours to
That'd
get
be
home.
perfect for the illegals and everybody to start robbing.
What
shit.
day is that? What day is
April
the
8th.
If you're in
I'm not
gridlock,
sure.
Wait,
that's
because the
true.
second so April 1st is Monday, right?
Yeah, so it'd be the following Monday.
Yeah.
Following Monday.
No, April 1st is Sunday. So next Sunday.
And
Another
if you're
spoiler,
in
that's true.
gridlock
April
on a
8th
bridge,
is a Monday.
It's a Monday.
if you're in gridlock
Okay.
on a bridge going over a major shipping lane,
Yeah,
watch
don't do
out.
that. Okay.
Just keep driving.
Yeah, that never happens. But that's a whole other story. But all right, guys, last story. Patrick, what is up with Japan's lost decades and China's future?
So very interesting numbers the team came up with, Brandon specifically.
Okay.
When we think about like how often we raised the interest rates last year, I think it was 8 times or some number like
Okay.
that, and then how many times we lowered it and all these things that we look at. We're going to raise the rates. We're going to decrease the rates. Did you know in Japan, the first time they raised the rates was last week, and they haven't done it for 17 years.
Japan.
Japan has not raised the interest rates for 17 years.
Wow.
That they've not raised their interest rates are in the negative. If you go to the next chart, Kelly, they have negative interest rates with Japan. If you can go to the next one, a couple things about Japan. They had the most incredible boom as an economy from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
2009 was killing
They
it.
had 20 consecutive growth years that was positive with what they did post-World War II. And then few numbers here that's going to freak you out. Okay, so check this out. In the 80s, Japan's property market was worth 4 times as much as U.S. property market in the 80s.
Okay.
The Imperial Palace in Tokyo. Can you pull up a picture on Imperial Palace in Tokyo? This one is the biggest shocking data here.
This is in Japan.
This is in Japan in the 80s. This is, you and I are born. We're alive.
Yeah,
this
78.
This is Reagan era, okay?
Yeah.
The Imperial Palace in New York, in Japan, Tokyo. Imperial Palace in Tokyo. That right there was worth as much as the entire state of California.
Wait, I'm confused.
Real estate. Stay with me here.
That place.
Yes, their real estate land increased from 1956 to 86 in 30 years, 5,000%. Tokyo real estate could sell as much as $139,000 per square feet, which was 350 times the equivalent of what it was in Manhattan.
What?
So what is known as the most expensive real estate in New York? In America, Manhattan will typically come up, Palm Beach.
Yeah.
John Stewart's Tribeca duplex.
350 times in the 80s, and the land constituted 65% of their wealth. But here's the part. Their market goes all the way up to 39,000, Nikkei 225, goes to 39,000 in 1989, and then it drops down to 17,000 3 years later. You know how long it takes for their market from 89 to get back to 39,000? This week.
It just got back?
It just got back to 39,000. You know how long that is? What's 1989 to 2024? 35 years.
Oh, my God. Wow.
It took their market 35 years to get back to the same exact thing that they have today. Japan's had a challenging time for many, many years. This is the GDP. I'll skip this. This is an interesting number. If you want to go to the next one, number of registered marriages per 1,000 inhabitants in Japan from 1960 to 2022. Look at this here. They say the country that's the sexless society.
They don't hook up.
Japanese don't have sex.
I was going to go there.
Well, listen, they make great wives because in the army, a lot of guys like to go to Fort Okinawa because guys who would come back from the military in Okinawa, they would say, Japanese wives massage your feet when you come home at night. Wow. They wash your feet. They do this. And everybody in the military is like, I need a Japanese wife. So everybody wanted to go to Okinawa.
But they don't hook up.
If we lose you to Japan temporarily, we may know what it is. Hey. But it is a sexless society, and there's a few other things we can talk about here.
Whoa.
Here's another interesting one for you. Stock market's been the same since when? 1989, right? It just recovered. You know how much their population has grown from 1990 till today? That is 34 years. How much you think their population's grown?
Net growth?
Net growth from 1990 till today. I'll give you the number. 1990, they had 124,500,000. Where are they at today? 34 years later.
You're saying it's up. You're saying it's
I'm
high.
not giving you all I'm saying to you. Everybody is up. I mean, it's weird for you not to be up.
400 million.
From 124 million. You're saying they're not 400 million.
Yeah.
What do you think they're at? What do you think they're at? I'm actually curious.
I'm thinking really low, like 200,000.
So you're
at 200 million.
Oh wait,
so they're at 200 million now.
Yeah.
What do you think they're at, Rob?
175 million.
What do you think they're at?
Say they hit 210.
Can you go to the slide, please? They're the same. They're down 200,000.
They're down 200,000?
In 34 years, Japan is down 200,000 people.
I see this as they're getting old, right?
They're not getting married. They're not having sex. Their population is not growing. And then if you look at this chart here with Japan, go to the next one on the fact that the male and the female, you don't want this chart because it shows your biggest sector of people. If you look at what this means is which age category do you have the most people of population-wise? Okay. At the bottom, the lowest one you don't see the picture close to us, It's ages 0 to 4.
Okay.
Then the next one is 5 to 9. Then the next one is 10 to 14 years old. 15, 19, 20, 24, all that stuff. Do you see the one that's the furthest one to the left?
Japan,
That's
it's
40.
75 and 90.
That's 45 to 49. And all the way to the top, 70 to 74. Their second biggest population they have
is old
is
people.
70, 74.
Wow.
Of course they're not having sex.
Wow.
Of course they're not making babies. And of course they are going through what they're going through. And you know who looks like this as well? Show the next one if you could. This is China. Identical. So as much as people talk
China's
about
on the right.
what's going on with China and how awesome they are, they got a lot of problems to solve because they had the one-child policy, and it was pretty crazy. If you can make that recommendation on that book, Hypomanic Edge.
Oh, it's that
A
book?
friend of mine many years ago recommended this book, a guy named Byron Udell. It says the link between a lot of craziness and a lot of success in America.
Okay.
That you're, and by the way, Hypomanic Edge, they give the profile of people that were bipolar, that were ADHD, that were manic, that were, all of this stuff. They end up winning the most. They're always a little bit weird that you look at them. Watch this. It says Americans are 5% of the world population, but represent 30% of the economic activity. Abundance of people with hypomanic tendencies prepared to take enormous risks. So the key word is what? Risk. They're willing to take the risks, right? Immigrants are more likely to be hypomanic, which means they're willing to take risks because they're like, dude, if you know my life, I was giving diapers to police officers. And the story he's saying, you're like, you're just visualizing cops wearing diapers walking around. You're arrested. You're like, bro, go wipe your ass, before you arrest me. Okay? Less shame. Very interesting. Less shame in America with bankruptcy. And we bounce back after bankruptcies, not in Japan. They asked the question, when asked if starting a new business was a respected occupation, Americans, 91% said yes. Japanese, 8% said yes.
What?
Yes. Deep disgrace attached to business failure in Japan. Population has lost all inclination towards risk after the market crash of 1990s. What does this tell you? Optimism is a very, very valuable asset. Hope, the first thing Hitler went after when he wanted to take over and, get control of his people, he got rid of religion. Mm-hmm. If you look at what he came up with, I think it's called the Church of Christian Positivity or something like that. You ever heard of this one before or no?
I haven't.
Can you type in Hitler church positivity? Hitler church positivity. So he wanted to get rid of God. He didn't want you to believe in God. He didn't want you to be, you'll see it there. It should come up as the Wikipedia if you zoom in so you can see it. It'll show one of them.
What? Positive Christianity.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Yeah, positive Christianity. This is the angle he took it, but he wanted no faith. He wanted no hope. He wanted none of that stuff because if there's no faith, if there's no hope, if you're afraid of taking risk and you can't be coming back, he's not going to have to worry about anybody revolting against them, and you got to steal hope. The one thing with Americans, look at all the crazy shit that's going on in America right now. Mm-hmm. What the hell is making America continue? Because we're an optimistic country. Yeah. We're hopeful. Mm-hmm. We're positive for the most part. Yeah. So we just have to make sure they don't take that away from us like they did in Japan.
100%. And seeing it from a foreign perspective, like I grew up between South America and the Middle East, there's something that I don't think you can notice. That, like, there's a bankruptcy culture here. Like, you can go, like, in South America and the Middle East in general, if you go bankrupt, you're done forever. Same thing maybe in Japan and whatever. Like, you don't get a second chance. Like, if you fail at your business, your friends will stop talking to you. Your family will, you don't, like, for example, Donald Trump. He's been bankrupt like a few times and he bounces back. That's American story. And I think what you're saying about people here being fearless and having a positive angle on it is super interesting. Like, some people are too optimistic. The guys from Gatorade, they're out of control. Out of control.
Out of where?
They're the guys that make Gatorade, they're out of control. They spend, like, since the 85, they spent years telling us that Gatorade is the best way to hydrate, and now they're making water again. Yeah. They went full circle.
Yeah,
like that's American spirit.
Yeah.
You sell them drinks all the time, and then you make water for them.
Yeah.
Well, think about what the American spirit is going back to its founding. The people who came here originally were the risk takers, were the people who said, yeah, I believe there's something over the horizon that we can go get. it's not just open ocean. We're not going to fall off the edge of the world. We're not going to die at sea. We're going to find something better over there. And they came and built it. That's sort of what the entire country has been about from the very beginning. And now there is an effort to erode that hope. Like Patrick mentioned, look at governments like Hitler, like communism, like all these other things. They're trying to erode faith. They're trying to erode hope. And it's discouraging the population to make sure that we can't continue in the way we have done before.
Have you guys noticed how much Joe Rogan recently has been having people talking about God?
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed? That's a very weird thing.
Have you noticed that well, God maybe before it was a little bit more like, come on, man, God and all this stuff. Now it's a little bit more of, hey, maybe there's an element with this. Maybe there's something we have to pay attention to with faith. Maybe there's a benefit to a society that believes everything's going to work itself out. I think we just can't let that happen to us. In life, if you think about in life, who are more optimistic people, who are more pessimistic? Older, middle-aged, or younger? Who's more optimistic?
Optimism from the younger.
Younger. Yeah. Pessimism is what? Older. Why? A couple of our Syrian guys that are with us that we'll be announcing here soon, they go to Walmart and they're walking around and they find this. I wish I had this video to show you guys. So emotional. They found this lady and they said, "How are you, ma'am?" "Good." "So, where are you from?" "Bah, bah, 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 bah." "Tell me about your family." And she says, "Well, I'm 95 years old. I am the only one remaining in my family. It is the most difficult thing to do because my kids have died. My husband has died. I don't want to go through those pains, but I've gone through it." Okay? So imagine you're so old now that you watch your own kids die.
Jeez.
Think about that. She's saying this, right? And she's like, maybe that's God's way of punishment. I don't know. It's very painful. But you know what? I still drive my car. I still do this. I still do this. And then she goes outside and she says, "It's also my birthday today, but I don't have anybody to celebrate it with."
Oh, man.
Okay? Anyways, these guys are like, you got to be kidding me. They run out. They go get balloons. They go get cakes. She's going to her car. They walk up to her and they give her a cake and they put the hat on her head and they start singing "Happy Birthday" to you, and they say, "Hey, we just want to say we love you." This is, and she's getting emotional. I cannot believe nobody's doing that to me, right? The longer you live, the more shit you're going to experience. It's just kind of how life is. When you were 13 years old, you're like, "I'm going to marry the first girl I kiss." And then you kiss her and then she kisses your best friend. And you're like, dude, so the same day, you lost a friend and a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And you're like, life sucks. Screw this shit. And then gradually more of that. You get bullied, you get punched, you get made fun of. You're ugly, you're this, you're fat, you're dumb. You're this. Oh my God. And then your skin gets thicker and you get a little bit, and then you lose that twinkle, and then you lose that hope, and then you lose that positivity, and then you lose that optimism, and then you join the bitter camp. And once you join the bitter camp, that's not optimistic. Life is miserable from there on. So we have to constantly, no matter how hard life gets, not allow that to change us, because if it does, future doesn't look bright for that specific individual.
Exactly. And go ahead, Rob, please.
I see it in my 4-year-old. Just that love of everything's awesome.
Yeah.
And I miss being that age because I forget how everything can be. But it makes you also go, oh, everything is awesome. He is terrified of shots. He's 4. Who likes getting shots? I'm 37. I hate getting shots.
Yeah.
My wife calls me today and she goes, "We took him to the doctor. She didn't tell him before that he was getting a shot. He got in there. He was a little nervous at first. Doctor made him laugh. Doctor gave him the shot. In the backseat of the car, my son goes, "Daddy, I love shots." And I went, see, he loves everything. So that age, 4, they love everything.
That's cool.
But 14, he's starting to go through that. So it's interesting. Like, he's dealing with heartbreak. He's got the first crush of a girl that he likes, but Stephanie likes Philip. And he's like, "I don't know what to do because I'm not Philip." So you know what he started doing, though? And it's great. Put him in jiu-jitsu, and it made him start losing weight, getting it's actually, I'm watching it build him into a man, because it's teaching him discipline that he can get from outside the home. He respects me. He respects his elders. He's a very respectful young man, but it took someone from the outside to come in and have that influence on his life where he's like, "Hey, you can you could be the greatest jiu-jitsu person in the world. You don't know, but try it.
Yeah.
And like now he's at the point where first couple months didn't want to go. We'd force him to go. I'm paying for it. You're going. Now it's been 3 months and it's like, Dad, I want to go tonight. Can I go tonight? Can I go to the early class? Can I go to both classes? And I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. So it's refreshing to have kids. Have them, boys, because you get to see that optimism all the time.
You almost don't have a choice.
No, it's because there's days where I'll come home and I'm tired of sitting in traffic for an hour and a half. I'm exhausted. I walk in the door and I'm bummed out. And the 4-year-old runs up, Daddy, and I go, okay. And
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Think about what having kids did to you as a person, the way it shaped who you are.
Yes.
The fact that you have these 2 children now. My sister-in-law right now is in labor with the first next generation of my family.
Right now?
Right now.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So
I'm going to FaceTime. We can.
I'm sure she's not feeling too hot right now, but
no, I'm sure she's feeling hot.
Yeah, it's
your
the
body will
fact
get hot.
that my family is growing, and this is a thing that, like you showed the numbers, Patrick. Japan is declining. China is declining. We are forgetting that basically the whole purpose of us existing is to make more children.
What a great
is to create another generation that we instill with our values, instill with that hope, and further our society, further the planet and the human race.
And I was young when I had my first son. Where I was 22. He's 14. I got a 4-year-old. So there's a big age gap. What's cool is I got to experience it young. So I was young with him. We kind of grew up together in a weird way. But now I'm watching my friends have their first children. And it's so exciting to see it change these guys who, I mean, some of them were derelicts. They were just like, my one friend was a male stripper. The stories that he could tell. And then guess what he has?
Those are real?
Daughter. And now all of a sudden he's changed completely. And I go, buddy, you're going to get it back in spades. What you put out in the universe is coming back your way. But it's interesting to watch that flip in my friends as well. Kids are an amazing thing to have.
The command from God to be fruitful and multiply was for your benefit as well as the next generation. And when societies forget that is when things start to fall apart.
The thing is that in general, female writers, 30-something, the train has left the station. They meet the bulk of the lifestyle writers.
Writer?
Yeah, the people that write on OK Magazine and everything.
Okay. Yeah. Female writers.
Yeah, female writers. And they make it look like having a kid is a burden and it will ruin your life, it will ruin your career.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so funny how you say that because, I never been a jealous person. Never. Growing up in Dubai, I was even though my parents were doing pretty well, I was the poorest kid in the class all the time.
Obviously.
Because they
not oil money.
It's not oil money. The twins will show up with matching Ferraris. There's nothing I can do about it. So I can learn how to live without jealousy, whatever. But for the first time, I've been catching myself with kid jealousy. Like my best friend just had a kid. I'm like, damn, I can't wait for them.
Which is a thing a man is not supposed to have in the United States.
Yeah, it's weird. What do you mean?
You're not supposed to be jealous of kids when you're living
by the
here.
way, first of all, I love you, Pat, because I get to play with his kid, bro. It's like not only do I love them and I adore them, it's training for me because
I've seen it.
Oh, Brooklyn screams. Brooklyn is. Oh, Vinny! I'm like, what? She's like, I need you. Like ordering me from another room. I mean, and you guys, I agree 100%. And it's like, I'm on the market, obviously. But I think one of the biggest fears for me, my mother, you know my mom, she's a saint from God. Every time I see her, when I talk to her, when I hang out with her, I get emotional. That's how much I adore and I love my mom. But there's this little fear in me, Pat, because I was the craziest kid. Like, I'm telling you guys are all crazy. It doesn't compare to this. I don't know where I think we were in church. I did something. I'll never forget these moments. My mom would grab me and be like, Vinny, come here. And I'd be like, she's like, and while we're in church, she's like, I'm dead serious. She goes, I pray. And she's saying this in Syrian. To Allah, I pray to God every single day that when you have a kid, it does to you what you're doing to me. And even the
they
priest.
do.
And by the way, and that little seed has been living in me. Every time I'm with a girl, I'm like, whoa, hey, because God loves her, and that's what I'm gonna get. But I am I'm 100%. So when I hear you talk, when I see his face with the kids there, when he sees his daughter, trust me, and you better start moving soon too.
As soon as I'm settled here, that's the first thing I'm gonna do.
And one thing I have seen, my parents were away from us. We lived in Cleveland, Ohio for 5 years when my son was from the time he was born to 5. Then we moved to Florida for 5 years. So their interactions with him were, Christmas, Easter, and then they move to Vero, and so we see them, if not every weekend, every other weekend, and it gives my parents not just hope, but it gives them energy. Like, my dad's a very energetic guy. He's in his 70s, but he still surfs. And he does. But my mom has been a stay-at-home mom for 40 years. It gives her the energy to go do things. It gives them purpose. So it really is. It's the effect that kids not just have on the immediate people, the parents, the extending family. My aunt has 2 daughters. Both of them are lesbians. They're never going to have kids.
Yeah.
She treats my children like they're her grandchildren, and it gives her hope. So it's amazing to see how these little kids who are 4 running around, snot and boogers all over the place, they have no idea the impact that they make on people's lives. But it's very, very special.
You know, it's funny you say that. Is my parents from July of '89, they were not in the same room at all. If they were, somebody in Germany would be resurrected. They couldn't be, and we don't want that, right?
Of course,
because it's a bad situation.
Yeah, of course.
The first time they agreed to be in the same room is when my niece was born.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Grace was born.
Wow.
Yeah. When Grace was born, I want to say it was 08 when she was born. So you go 1989 to 08. How many years is that? 19 years.
19.
First time they agreed to be in the same room is because of Grace.
And how was it? How was the moment?
They don't have a choice.
Like, you're here. Here we go.
You don't have a choice. It's your first grandchild.
Wow.
So the grandchild, it puts everyone's guard down.
Oh.
It's pure love.
Yeah.
It's life. It's a beautiful thing.
Second time I've ever seen my father cry. First time our dog, long time that we had for like 15 years, had to put down. I was 12. I'll never forget. It's weird to see your father cry because you look up, you're like, he's powerful. I've never seen this before. And then the second time was when my son was born, and I've like bawling like a baby, both of us.
Yeah.
So even to this day, it's like, it's very funny. The older he gets, the more often that happens now. Like. Yeah. You know, when we lived apart, every time he'd say goodbye, he'd start to get teary-eyed and go, don't do it. Yeah. And he'd start, and I go, no, because you're going to make me. Now we're both. But it's so great that now he's here, and I'm like, now we see each other. I'm like, I'll see you next weekend.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's a beautiful thing. I think, dude, like, the emotional, and Kelly knows this, I get, like, because my life has gone a complete because of this man. I'm in church, and I just, like, I'm crying, and she's like, it's okay, for no reason. And it's not that I'm mad or I'm sad. I'm so happy and so overwhelmed because when I came here and you would say the future looked bright, I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, I wasn't optimistic. I wasn't bitter, but I was like, but the more I'm listening, the more I'm here, Pat, the more I'm around the culture, the more I'm listening to words from everybody, I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, do believe it. And you have to be optimistic. You have to be happy. And if we don't fight and stand up and have that attitude for this country, we are doomed. We are doomed. So I want to say, Pat, and all you guys, I love you to death. Thank you, Pat, for every single thing you've done for me, for all of us. We're in this place because of you. There's no words before I get choked up, but I love you like a brother. Thank you. Everybody that's watching, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe right now to Valuetainment. Click the notification link. Find everybody here is on Manek. If you want to talk to us, get on Manek. Kelly, Umberto, Rob, Patrick. You might have to take out a loan. Connor. But, guys, I say this every week. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Take care of each other. Love each other. God bless. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace and love.